to Episode 1 of Drawing Inspiration, the show designed to fill your creative bank account as I explore my new home in the Pacific Northwest United States. If you're needing ideas in the way of color, line, composition, character design, or just enjoy seeing the world from another perspective, then this is for you. Keep an eye out for the freeze frames. Those are suggestions for your sketchbooks and canvases. So grab a sharpened pencil and a blank page and we'll get started. Thank you very much for that song from Isabel Crane. You can find them at isabelcrane.com. So for a little bit of where we're at right now, I live in Bellingham, Washington, which is in kind of right in between Vancouver, Canada, and Seattle, Washington, a little bit closer to Vancouver. So to get up where we're at here is about an hour to an hour and a half or so at the most. It's a place called Granville Island. The entire city of Vancouver, before it was really an established city, was actually called Granville after a powerful dude at the time that lived there. When they decided to make it a city, they said they needed something a little bit more grandiose of a title, so they named it after the explorer Vancouver, hence the name. Apparently not long after that, though, most of Granville was burned to the ground, and they don't think that that was a coincidence after they changed the name. But anyway, Granville is an island kind of underneath the Granville Bridge. It's not actually an island, more of a peninsula that was once a place of industrial work with a bunch of factories and things like that, and then a hobo village type of a place. They called it a hobo jungle when I was reading on Wikipedia, which seemed a little strange, but and a bunch of shackers lived there in corrugated tin shacks and fishing and selling that and selling things that they found on the beach and scavenged and all sorts of things like that. And then in the late 60s, early 70s, a couple architects were charged with turning this into a public place, and they really transformed it into something special. It's a whole kind of entire little city, but there's some pretty awesome markets that we showed you at the beginning there. Warning, you're going to get a lot of food shots in this show, so you're probably going to get hungry as you watch it. But it's a really cool place. These are houses that actually are floating on the water there, so they're not just tiny homes or boats that are, you know, on the water. They're actual houses that are floating there. I've seen these in a couple different places. They're in Seattle here and also on Victoria or Vancouver Island, and sometimes you can Airbnb and stay in places like that, but I've never been lucky enough thus far to be able to stay in one, so if you can, I would. But yeah, it was a really cool place. When you leave the markets, you're right on the waterfront right there. You get to see the downtown area right across the way. And then here in a little bit, you'll see for a pretty, it was like $6 or something like that, you can get in these small little tugboats. And they take you for a ride across that channel where we kind of picked up on a path that leads to a place called Stanley Park. But real beautiful area. I highly recommend it. A lot of fun stuff to look at. There's a lot of street musicians, different restaurants, toy shops, art shops, galleries, theaters, and a huge market with just kind of about anything you can find. Our favorite place there is a macaron shop. These delicious little French macarons. We get all fancy when we go up there. And then I met this little guy. He was a friend of mine. Check him out. If you could pick any profession in the world, what would you pick? Anything at all. I think if I could choose anything, I'd pick to be a travel show host. I think it'd be about the best living. Getting paid to travel around, talk to strangers, look at new things. I don't think I'd ever stop being an artist, but I think that'd be about the coolest thing. And because traveling is kind of the best way, I think, to fill your creative bank account. So when you are sitting down at the drawing table and you need to draw a boat on the water, a dock, or what it looks like to draw a monster underneath the dock, you kind of have stuff to draw from. So that's my whole purpose behind this show. My wife and I moved from the Midwest to the West Coast in an effort to kind of see new things and have new experiences. We love traveling, and the idea of living, close to the ocean, close to mountains, is something that I was just fascinated with. So I'm pretty excited to be out here, but it's all pretty new to me. So the idea is take those experiences and bring them to you guys. Hopefully they can provide good fodder for all of us for our sketchbooks and everything. I know myself, still sometimes you sit down at the end of the day and you're like, okay, I got to get something in the sketchbook. What should I draw? The immediate thing sometimes is a blank. You don't know where to start. I know I need to work on scenery, but where do you start with that? Well, hopefully with this show, it can kind of help take care of that page fright. Maybe even help give ideas for when you're doing your comic books. If you're doing stuff that takes place on the water, I've got some good stuff for that. Places in the woods, we'll have some good episodes for that. So, like I said, just my effort to take something that's new to me, share it with you guys, and hopefully we can all get something out of it. Where the art comes into play is I choose a couple frames out of this as well, and I illustrate those and I put them at the end of the episode. I hope if you guys do draw from this and find some good stuff that you share with me as well. If you post it down in the comments, I urge everybody to go follow those people, post links to your Instagram, to the drawings that you do from this. I sure would love to see them, and I'll come give you a follow. So, but I don't want to talk over the whole thing, so for a little while, let's just enjoy the scenery. How many travel shows do you see with slow-mo skateboard tricks? Yep, you're only going to find that kind of content here. So this is now across the channel from Granville Island, and we're on a trail, a pathway. One whole sidewalk is just people walking back and forth, and one right next to it that has everybody on rollerblades and bicycles and all that kind of zooming by. And it goes for miles and miles along the waterfront. And this weird sculpture here, I kept calling it the Flintstones ribs. It looked like that in the intro of the Flintstones when they set down that giant rack of brontosaurus ribs on his thing and it tips over his car. Yeah, some of you know what I'm talking about. That's what this thing reminded me of, and I just thought it was super cool. One of my drawings is actually a scenery piece with kind of that on the beach. Like I said, that's posted at the end. But it goes for miles and miles up and down this waterfront. And it was hard to see there, but if you look out on the water, if you rewind a little bit, there's just a ton of ships sitting out there, and it's like they're all in a holding pattern, or it's like a giant ship graveyard, but they're huge barges, and those giant containers that trucks drive around and then are on the back of trains. These ships are giant, have hundreds and I don't know, thousands, I'm not sure, but are just filled with those, and they're all just out in the bay there. And interestingly enough, in the Pacific Northwest area, there's some palm trees. In such rainy climate, there's a lot of really interesting plant life around, so it's fun finding those. This, I'll make sure I get it right. It's, what was it called? The Statue of Amazing Laughter, I want to say. And I first saw these on an episode of X-Files. I think it was Mulder was talking to a spook of some kind down here, a government informant guy, giving him some info. But they're kind of creepy, but really, I think they're really fun and cool. It looks like they're all cracking up hilariously, obviously, and they're all in these strange positions that look very exacting, almost like martial art positions, almost like they're doing like a hilarity Tai Chi sort of a thing. But these guys are right up my alley. I love this thing. I could have stayed here all day with a sketchbook and drawn each one of them, and the way they line up behind each other were just a lot of fun to see. And then I just got giggling looking at all the folk. Like, there was a lot of people stopping at this, and they were all giggling and laughing and posing in the different positions. Everyone seemed to be having a lot of fun, so. But yeah, the forms were just definitely up my alley. The proportions of them I thought were fascinating. The planes on it, the way the light was hitting it, giving it kind of real strong lights and darks. The other image I did was actually from these guys. Spoiler alert, I guess, is the best thing. But after I walked around for a while looking at these folks and everyone taking pictures, when I spun around I saw this quote there. It says, "May this sculpture inspire laughter, playfulness, and joy in all who experience it." I thought that was pretty cool, because then when I stepped back and took a look, everyone was having a grand time. It was really inspiring to see, and I thought that was quite beautiful, really. I think we would all be lucky to have our artwork affect people in such a profound way. And I think that's a great place to end episode 1 of Drawing Inspiration. Do appreciate you joining me. And for the art portion, here's a peek inside my sketchbook of what I was working on as a result of this. Could kind of draw all day long, every day with these things, but wanted to pick a couple images, and I love these guys. The proportions here were a lot of fun to play with. So, and then I wanted to get something done with all the beach scenes and the cities in the back, so I did something kind of fun with that shape there. Like I said, it was kind of a fascinating one to me. So that wraps it up. Please link to your artwork in the comments below. Thank you again to Isabel Crane, and we're going to go out looking at these beautiful berries. See you next time.
Say you're playmate, come out and play with me, and bring your dollies, they climb up my apple tree, slide down my rainbow into the cellar door, and we'll be jolly friends forevermore. Say you're playmate, come out and play with me and bring.
I've been there.